Okay, so this is a typical question about enzymes. They're giving you an awful lot of information here to read and to take in before you actually get to the question itself. So I just want us to concentrate on this information that you're given in what's known as the stem of the question. And as you read the question, it's really important that you take in the words that are used and any other information that may be relevant to the final answer that you give. So if we read this, it says, in the search for new biofuels, research has been done into the digestion of wood waste by fungi. So there's a few words there already that you might be thinking, not sure what they mean, that you might want to highlight for yourself. So first of all, in the search for new biofuels. Okay, so biofuels, what's that? Before we do anything, we need to make sure that you understand what biofuels are. So you should take a dictionary. You can get specific science dictionaries, but obviously normal dictionaries or just Google will help you find out a bit more about what biofuels are. So you should research that. It says research being done into the digestion of wood waste. Sounds a bit silly, but do we actually know what wood waste is? So there's something else that we need to make sure we understand before we look at the question. And finally, in this first sentence, fungi. Okay, so this is part of the classification unit. We haven't actually studied this yet, but by the end of F212 you will actually know what fungi is. You don't right now. This is an enzyme question. Is it relevant? Not sure. So make sure you find out a little bit about what fungi means. Okay, so next part of the question. The fungi produce cellulase enzymes that break cellulose into sugars. Okay, so let's think about this. Cellulase enzymes. Okay, so cellulase is an enzyme that you've not heard of before. You certainly know what enzymes are. So two things there. Specifically cellulase as an enzyme and enzymes. What basic information do you already know about enzymes? Now it tells you that cellulase breaks cellulose into sugars. So that's important information there. So you know what the substrate and what the products are for this particular enzyme. Cellulose is the substrate and sugars are going to be the products of this reaction that cellulase catalyses. It says these sugars can then be converted into ethanol, a biofuel. Okay, so ethanol, what's that? If you study chemistry, well then you probably know what ethanol is. If you don't study chemistry, you won't. So maybe it's worth looking that up too. Now remember, at this point, you haven't actually read the specific question yet, so you don't know what they're asking you. You don't know what information that you're being presented with here is going to be important or not. So at this stage, looking up all of these different terms and just getting it clear in your head is really important. Okay, so if we look at the actual process, it says figure 3.1 shows the stages in this digestion process. So cellulose here. Okay. What's cellulose? Do we know what that is? Okay. And it says here that enzyme 1, it's got a little arrow, so it must mean that enzyme 1 breaks cellulose into this molecule here, which is a disaccharide. Okay. So enzyme 1, let's get it very, very clear what that actually does. So you've got space at the bottom to specifically set out the reaction that enzyme 1 is catalysing. Okay. Do we even know what a disaccharide is? So again, something else that you need to think about and get straight in your head before you look at the question. Okay, now here, enzyme 2, you've got another little arrow, so that's representing the fact that this disaccharide can be converted into this molecule here by enzyme 2. So again, let's set out specifically down here what enzyme 2 is catalysing, the actual reaction. Okay, before we actually start. Like, coincidentally, you don't know yet what this molecule is, but you will do once we've done the second topic in F212. You might recognise it already. It's got the formula C6H12O6. Let's see if you can find out what that is. Okay. Now, just as a very, very basic piece of research, the whole question's about enzymes. You've got two enzymes here, enzyme 1, enzyme 2. Why? Why have we got two enzymes? As opposed to just one. Okay? So before we actually even read the question, there's an awful lot of information that's being presented to you there. And I've tried to highlight and pick up on some of the things that you should actually be thinking of before you even begin to read the question. So pause the video now and have a think about all of these things. Use a dictionary if you need to, use your notes if you need to, before you watch the next video, and see if you've actually built up the same picture that I have after looking up all of these key terms.